All right, wrestling fans. All right, wrestling fans. Getting a little bit of feedback on that one. Anyhow, welcome everybody to the big show. I am O to the J, back with more AEW reviews. Dynamite just ended 10 minutes ago. And man, oh man, was that fun. It's really rare for me to even get a Dynamite that I even go, that wasn't, that wasn't amazing or anything. But this was a lot of fun. And I'll get the big stuff out of the way right now. We had Kenny Omega, the real world's champion, as I call him, and Bryan Danielson in the ring together tonight. That happened in Cincinnati, Ohio, for AEW Dynamite on this day, September 8th, in the year of our Lord 2021. And man alive, talk about a moment I didn't think I'd see. If you would have asked me 2 years ago about Omega and Bryan sharing the same ring, I would have been like, no, we'll see. But my God, we got to see them share a ring, at least, in a promo world tonight. And my goodness, what a sight to behold. I make no bones about it. I think Kenny Omega is the best wrestler in the world today. PWI 500 came out today and said the same thing, that Kenny Omega is number one, and I could not agree more. But I'll tell you, if there's a number two, you could be talking about Bryan Danielson. Now, I know, Roman Reigns, acknowledge him, blah, blah, blah. You can make the argument, but until Reigns puts on like a 5-star classic for me, like a legit 5-star classic for me where he's leading the match, I can't put him in the same level as Omega. Promo work, absolutely. Promo work, I'd say he's a better promo than Kenny Omega is right now, but I don't think there's anybody quite, as Omega said, onto the same level that he is, as he said when he was closing out All Out. But Bryan Danielson, my God, what a match that could be. We got Adam Cole in the ring tonight. He's making his AEW debut next week. But we'll go over all of that and so much more. Because I'm about to skip the whole thing and just kind of focus on the mains. And that's there we go. That's not what I do here. So let's go ahead and talk about the show. So, we had Jim Ross, good old JR, Tony Schiavone, and Taz on commentary tonight. And, yeah, Excalibur was not there. So, apparently, he's getting married in a few days and is taking some time off. And you know what? Good for him. Good for him. Him and Taz on Dark is my favorite commentary team going right now. But I'll tell you, who's one of my favorite commentators right now? Tony Schiavone. And we will talk about more Tony Schiavone a little bit later on. But my God, what a revelation he has been since AEW started off. Like this Tony Schiavone who gives zero fucks, I am here for it. Anyhow, we start off with a quick recap of what happened at All Out. And then we get into the first match of the night, which is The Natural, Dustin Rhodes, against Malachi Black. And this match was, I would say, a minute or so too long. I really liked what they were doing with Black in terms of how he was just kind of tearing through people at will. Especially, you set the precedent with Cody with a 5 minutes or less match, and yet you're going to go ahead and, have other people put up essentially more of a fight than what Cody does. We'll find out more about the fight in him later, but for this, it felt like, at least to me, that Black, given how he was positioned before, should have been able to really just kind of like put him away early and quickly. But that's not quite what we got. However, we did get something really cool. So I have stated on social media before that I think that Malachi Black should be taking that boot that Cody had left in the ring after their match. And I would even argue he should be wearing the boot and using emphasis on the boot. Deliver the Black Mass spinning heel kick with it and all of that. He hasn't really been doing that. Well, not really at all. But tonight he busted it out and he used it as a mechanism to kind of taunt Dustin out of his comfort zone and make him be a bit more emotional in the ring. And he does that emotional bit really, really well. I will give him credit there. But anyway, at one point, one of the turnbuckles is exposed, and the quick sum up is for a match that goes, I want to say at least 7 minutes. I would have liked it gone to maybe closer to 6, but there's a turnbuckle exposed, and basically, I almost called him the wrong name. Malachi Black goes ahead and with a sweeping kick sends Dustin face first into the exposed turnbuckle. And then as Dustin's coming out of it, he gets the Black Mass spinning heel kick, as they're calling it, and gets the 1-2-3 cover. Later in the show, we get word that Cody is going to make his return at the Arthur Ashe Stadium show coming up later this month. They're going to stack that show for their largest ever live attendance. And Cody and Malachi Black in a rematch is certainly a damn good start. Malachi Black may have the creepiest entrance in wrestling today. I love how cerebral and precise his repertoire has been since jumping over to AEW. And of course, Cody has such a great moveset that I think we're going to get much more of Cody's output that we're used to seeing when they go up against each other in New York. But I mean, we're going to see. But yeah, Malachi Black wins via pinfall. I'm going to go ahead and say that this one is a B, solid B. It's, like I said, just a tiny little bit long for my taste, but at the same time, Dustin did look really good. I think he's in the best shape he's probably ever been in, and I think his work rate has been really understated for what he can do at his age. On top of that, of course, Malachi Black looked great. He always does. And yeah, I just felt it ran a little bit long, but there was nothing in there that kind of made me just stand up out of my seat or anything like that. But it does the job that it needs to do, and it's above average. So that's why that's why I go with a B. So we get a little promo for the new AEW World Tag Team Champions, the best tag team on the planet for my money, the Lucha Brothers. Little vignette about the match and a little bit about their career, as in a little like voiceover about how like they've been clawing and scratching. And got to hear something from Rey Fenix. And then of course, Penta, we had a Penta Says moment, and Penta says the title cost them blood, sweat, and tears. Anyone who is willing to suffer can try and take them away from them. And you know what? Here for it. The Luchas, this has been a long time coming. And I, like I said, I feel they are the very best tag team on the planet right now. And for the fact that they were the ones who beat the Bucks, I cannot fault that at all. We get a little something from Eddie Kingston. Sounds like we're going to get a rematch for that, because Kingston references the low blow. Also references the lovely CJ Perry, which I imagine Miro is not going to take too kindly to and go out of his way to whoop all that ass later on down the line. And so we go to CM Punk. And CM Punk, man, he was working the crowd. Absolutely working the crowd. And Punk, he was name dropping people left and right. Gave a shout out to Linda, Brian Pillman's aunt, Brian Pillman Jr.'s aunt. Basically the woman who raised him, and even in a way shouted out the dark side of the ring, which was quite the thing. It's funny, like the things that you hear on television that you didn't used to before when it came to how pro wrestling and sports entertainment, had those hard lines between all of that. And also, my apologies, I got this wrong. Sorry, just to backtrack real quick. Miro was talking about CJ Perry again. And because that's right, she said something very naughty on Twitter regarding Miro and redeeming nuts. But yeah, that feud's going to continue. But anyway, back to CM Punk. Punk was name dropping some folks, and including Ruby Soho and Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson. That was a nice, the way he milked the Bryan Danielson drop. I was like, oh shit. And he asked the crowd, what's next for CM Punk? And Taz stands up and basically says that he's tired of this bullshit love fest for Punk. He tells Punk not to mention anyone from Team Taz. And Punk is going on like, I didn't even bring you guys up. I didn't say names or anything. And Taz like, you've been saying it in interviews and radio spots. You're all over the fucking place. He doesn't say fuck, I say fuck. But so Punk is like, all right, if we're going to go like this, send Starks, send Hook, send Hobbs. And basically Punk called out Team Taz. And even what I loved was pulled out Taz's old catchphrase for the match, or for the segment. It says, beat me if you can, survive if I let you. You know what? I'm all about it. Because Punk, being as smart as he is, he's going to be able to pull stuff like that out and just run with it. So that was really rad. And for the segment, I'll give it an A-. It felt a little awkward just to have Taz stand up and just kind of interject on himself, or not interject on himself, but interject himself in on all of this. If that's going to be CM Punk's next feud, then with Team Taz, I am most looking forward to when he gets to Ricky Starks. Talk about a match that will make Starks go to the next level. And I have told this to friends before. Ricky Starks is the definition of a blue chipper. Always has been. The fact that NWA and Billy Corgan let him walk and he signed with AEW. I remember seeing him come out when the pandemic was going. I think it was on a dark. I want to say it was on a dark. And I was like, son of a bitch, Ricky Starks, Stroke Daddy Ricky Starks. And by the way, I'm so glad he dropped the Stroke Daddy part. That's just me though. But absolute Ricky Starks and CM Punk is going to be a match that I think separates Starks from the rest of Team Taz. Not that Team Taz doesn't have a lot going for it. I love Will Hobbs. I think he's the closest thing to a Vader we've had since Vader's time has come and gone. But I'll say this. I want to see what Hook can do. So if Hook is going to get in the ring, I think that would be a hell of a thing to be able to learn from CM Punk in the middle of the ring. So if Punk's going to go through everybody, including Hook, I'd love to see that personally. Of course, Taz himself isn't going to get in the ring, but you know, what can you do? But anyway, we go backstage, or no, I'm sorry, we don't go backstage yet. We have a little bit of a quick segment back over to Santana and Ortiz talking about their win over FTR and basically saying that they're the best and they're going to come for the rest of the tag division. We will see how that goes. I am excited to see one day Santana and Ortiz against the Lucha Brothers. That'll be a fun match. I might make popcorn for that match. I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's going to be something that we could even get at the Arthur Ashe Stadium show, just for the simple fact that they're from that neck of the woods. And, you know, everybody loves a hometown favorite at some point, even if they don't end up winning. You can elevate in loss. We've seen it before. I mean, God, let's be real. We saw it Sunday at All Out. No matter how which way you slice it, Darby Allin was elevated by loss. There's other guys that have been able to do the same thing, but I mean, that is something that you saw. So I think after beating FTR, and it seems to be putting that feud behind them, an eventual match with the Luchas still retaining, I would like to see it personally. But anyhow, as we, we have that quick segment, we go to a backstage bit with Ruby Soho and Tony Schiavone. Basically, she talks about why she offered an open challenge, which was to prove that, you know, the win at All Out in the Battle Royale was not a fluke, which, hey, cool. I'm all here for it. But then, you know, Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, shows up. And, of course, she's flanked with Rebel, not Reba, and Jamie Hayter. And, of course, Hayter is going to be the one who has the match with Ruby Soho later. And we get a little bit of back and forth with, I don't know if that's the way to put it. Britt does her usual shtick, and not that it's a bad thing, but Ruby Soho talks about how her and Britt go way back, how she helped Britt break into the business. And Britt, of course, drops the lovely line of basically, when I'm done with you, you'll be going back to catering where you were for the last 4 years, referring to her time in WWE. Bit of a dig, but also not wrong, which, oh, God, that place and the way they book their women's division is fucking maddening. But anyway, basically, Soho's got the match coming up, and as soon as Britt and the rest leave, Soho says to Schiavone, I know she's your girl, but I'm going to whoop her ass. It's going to be a fun match, and while it's going to be sad to see Ruby Soho take her first loss to Dr. Britt Baker, I don't see her being the one to win the title from Britt Baker yet. I still think that should be Thunder Rosa. Maybe Revolution. I feel like Revolution's a good time to do it. Maybe, and I mean maybe, Double or Nothing. But I think it should be at Revolution. That lights out match, son of a bitch, that was good. Anyway, so all of this was to set up, Powerhouse Hobbs being in the ring. And then we wait on Dante Martin, who gets an entrance, who gets a proper entrance. But God, Dante Martin, what a star. What a legitimate star. Kid's special. Kid is probably the single best natural athlete they have on the AEW roster. If you guys think that there's somebody who's just as good, if not better, I'd love to hear about it. If not in the replies, go ahead and shoot me a tweet and let me know, because if I am presented with what is, I feel, a logical argument, I will gladly entertain that on this in particular show. Anyhow, and so Hobbs and Martin have what I don't want to say it's slow, but I want to say they were like really feeling each other out for the first, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 minutes before it picked up. But my God, these are guys that I would love to see get 20 minutes in the ring, because I think they would be able to really sell some shit with each other. The thing about Dante Martin, I mean, that double springboard moonsault he makes that just look pretty. And so the match ends, right? So there's a spot. So before the match ends, there is a spot that Hobbs is outside the ring, and Martin is going for a suicide dive through between the ropes. And as he does, he uses his back feet, like I suggest, uses his feet, my apologies, to catch and hook where the middle rope is after his body's all the way through, kind of like the way planes, which is funny because of top flight. Funny because of how planes, when they're landing on an aircraft carrier, will often use that hook to go ahead and catch them as they come in as a break. So he does that, and Hobbs catches him by his like head and neck and shoulders, and then just swings him right into the post. Never seen anything like that, but I was just like, holy shit, what a move. Never seen anything like that. And Dante Martin sells it like death, and God bless him for it, because that kid is going to have a stellar career. He really is. I cannot wait to hear like how he develops as a character, or see how he develops as a character, and hear how his mic work develops and everything like that. It's gonna be a fascinating watch, because he and MJF are two of the youngest guys in the company, and my God, like, and of course Jungle Boy, like, those guys are like the 5-year plan, like, or the after 5-year plan, because my God, they have got some amazing talent that are in the younger range, including Sammy Guevara too. So anyhow, so after he misses the pump kick, after he misses the double springboard moonsault, Powerhouse Hobbs catches him in a spine buster. And of course, JR and Shivani, they messed up. They called it a power bomb, which it wasn't. Which I thought was funny. But Hobbs with the cover, 1, 2, 3, and that was it. And I don't hate the finish, because throughout most of the match, what was really selling it was the fact that Dante Martin was throwing so much at Hobbs from so many different directions that it was catching him off guard. That the moment Hobbs caught him in his power game, which is a thing that happens a lot, like in terms of the stories they tell in pro wrestling, how the power guy goes ahead and catches the smaller, faster guy, and it's kind of like all she wrote. That's why I didn't mind it. I would love to see a rematch down the line. Dante gets that win back, even if it's like 2 years down the line and Dante's 22. You know what I mean? Because the kid's only going to get better. That's the scary part. Anyhow, I am going to go ahead and say that one is, gosh, I'm right at like a B+ with that one. Almost an A-, just because of the way it started. But like overall, solid match. Will Hobbs has gotten better and better and better the more he's been on. I loved how he's just been able to take this opportunity from how the pandemic was and run with it. I loved it when he joined Team Taz the way he did. The guy is awesome. Anyhow, after that, we get Dan Lambert and Men of the Year. Now, I like Men of the Year. Ethan Page is going to be a great heel champion one day, whether that's the TNT championship or even if it's a heel tag team championship, or if they decide to push him as a world champ, because I think he's got the combination of factors. It'll be interesting to see what he does with a bigger spotlight on him. I'd be curious to see it, but I think, and of course I do love Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky, I think, should have been the one to beat Darby Allin a while ago, but that's just me. But heel Scorpio Sky has been so much fun. He is such a dick, and it totally works. Love it. But anyway, Dan Lambert and Men of the Year are next in a segment that honestly I kind of tuned out. And it's not for them. It is not for Sky and Page, I should say. I tuned out, all thanks to Dan Lambert and how fucking lame this shtick is. I do not like it whatsoever. For a segment, it's at a C-. I really did not care for it whatsoever. From there, we get Matt Hardy backstage talking about how he's tired of Orange Cassidy, and he's basically gonna, I think we're getting a hair versus hair match, which is gonna be interesting because he said he's gonna shave Cassidy's hair, and then we go to Cassidy, and Chuck Taylor's all whispering into his ear what Matt said, and then Cassidy's like, so Matt Hardy wants to cut my hair. Whatever. As Cassidy does. So that feud's not over with yet. And then we get Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Hot off the big loss to Chris Jericho, who is not on this show. MJF comes out with Wardlow. Talks about how there's a bias against him, how he beat Jericho 3 times, how it was really 4. Then he rips on Cincinnati for a bit. He even says it's called the Midwest because everything is mid, which I thought was funny. He makes fun of things like Skyline Chili and the Cincinnati Reds. And one thing I thought was funny, he's like, and if any of you got a problem, you can jump the ring and like, I'll beat all your asses and that kind of thing. And I was just laughing because I was like, my God, MJF is that kind of heel that I think he could actually entice a riot inside that arena. They could just go, fuck it, let's get him. But of course they don't. And of course MJF says they won't because they are all cowards. And then MJF draws attention to Brian Pillman Jr.'s Aunt Linda and Brian Pillman's very pregnant sister out at ringside. And basically MJF rips on them both a little bit. Brian Pillman's daughter, had a little something to say on the mic. And of course, MJF is like, well, that'll explain your vile looks. And then Brian Pillman's Jr. music hits, and out he comes in a Cincinnati Bengals jersey. And so basically, Pillman Jr.'s like leaning into a bit more of the rougher aspect, like in the sense of like growing up on the streets kind of thing, and how Cincinnati's full of like badasses like John Moxley and everything. And then MJF basically goes, so you want to go toe to toe with me on the mic? And I'll be real, I kind of wonder how much of this was a shoot and how much of it was scripted. MJF called Pillman's mom, Melanie Pillman, He called her Methany. That, only MJF, man. Only MJF. And then basically says that, basically he says that Pillman's mother should have aborted him, which is kind of like the breaking point for Brian. And this is after he tells Wardlow, oh, that's right. He tells Wardlow to go stand in the corner and look pretty, basically do what he did Sunday instead of helping him in the ring. But anyway, so we get Pillman and MJF tossing hands and getting into it. Wardlow kind of gets a little bit involved. Griff Garrison comes out to help, and we get all this back and forth there. And then of course, the crowd is chanting, "You tapped out, you tapped out," as MJF goes to the back. And after that, Ruby Soho makes her AEW debut against Jamie Hayter, one of Britt Baker's underlings. This was a great power versus smaller dynamic in the ring. Jamie Hayter just impresses me each time because she moves with force, deliberate force on everything that she does, and it shows, and it works out really, really well. Ruby Soho, I thought this was a great test of her wind to see if she still had, all her legs under her and everything like that. Any sort of time off, I don't care who you are, it's got to affect you in some degree. And you got to actively, move forward to go ahead or work at it to move forward. So this is a great little back and forth match. And let's see here. Yeah. Ruby Soho at the very end there hits the eat defeat to the jaw. Gave a cover 1, 2, 3. Beating Jamie Hayter, which I don't know how I personally feel about that, because and hear me out. I think there's a world where Hayter could be the one to beat Britt Baker. And I almost think that this loss kind of diminishes that a little bit. And I think it puts... Now, I don't disagree that Ruby Soho needed a win going eventually into that match with Britt Baker. I just don't... I think it would have worked a little bit better if it was Rebel instead of Jamie Hayter. But... my God, I really want to see them work together again. I think that'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a B+. I'm in the land of B's tonight, but that's kind of what the nature of the show is until the very end. It's a solid in-ring match. I'm just not overly wild of the loss for Jamie Hayter, but I get why Soho needs the win. So that's just kind of where I fall a little bit on that. I almost kind of wish, like I said, Rebel was in there instead, but that's just my personal take on that. Just my take. Anyway, after the match, Britt Baker and Rebel get in there for the attack. Riho comes running down, helps for the save. And then after that, Chris Statlander runs out with a chair. We get Riho, Statlander, and Ruby Soho all kind of standing in the ring, holding each other up. So that was pretty cool. Chris Statlander, I'm glad that she's back on TV right after that loss. I was afraid they might have kept her off TV for a little bit, but they didn't. And then we get to a nice little vignette between Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. And clearly we're getting that one more time. I think it's going to be the end of that feud. Ricky Starks should win that one. I'm loving this version of Ricky Starks. This is like a mix of... It's like if... Hear me out. It's like if 1994 Shawn Michaels met 1998 Rock, and... that ended up being what we have here. Michaels for the consistency and for having a title that he's just repping himself. And of course, The Rock for a lot of the looks, a lot of the style and everything like that. Even the gift for gab, you could argue. But Ricky Starks is going to be AEW World Champion one day. You heard it from me. You heard it from me. But cannot wait to see that rematch as well. So we go to a backstage segment with the Dark Order. And the Dark Order have been in disarray recently. We've kind of had a little line in the sand between, it was Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, and I cannot remember who else was on their side. And, of course, 5, 10, Silver. And this is all regarding, like, what started with the loss of Adam Page, telling them to kind of like, hey, back off. And then, of course, having the Dark Order, specifically Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, go to the rest of them, hey, don't help out Adam. He didn't want your help. Blah, 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 blah. You know, he's got to do it on his own. And so we have that, and because Adam Page is still gone, and we have this like big crack in there. And Anna Jay steps in, and she says that they're all a family, and they need to start acting like it. All right, that's completely fair. What exactly does that mean? So this leads to, like, I'm going to give this a B-. I don't want to, like, say, like, it does, in my opinion, it does not do a good job summarizing everything up to that particular point. But having Anna Jay back, saying that they're a family and they need to, like, you know, show it. I can't help but wonder if this is going to be the seeds planted that Bray Wyatt ends up coming over to AEW and attempts, and I say attempts, to be the new leader of the Dark Order, to fill in for his dear friend who's departed, the late great Mr. Brody Lee, and eventually and turn them heel. Now, what's important about that is that with the heel turn for Dark Order, they're gonna be more like how it was when Brody Lee was around, maybe with a little bit more of an edge. But eventually when Adam Page comes around, I think what we're going to see is a change in all of that, with Page even saying, you know, you don't need a leader. All you need is each other. You heard it here. Just my take. And that, I think, could be leading to a feud. That could actually be one of Page's earliest world title defenses, when he eventually wins the world title at least what I feel is going to be Full Gear, which we got a date on that, November 13th, which is a Saturday. It's also the late, great Macho Man Randy Savage's birthday, November 13th. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's November 15th. Got my dates wrong. My bad. Anyhow, that leads us into the next match, which is a 6-man tag. So we have John Silver, Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, 5'10", and Colt Cabana are in the corner, and they're going up against Shawn Spears and FTR, with Tully Blanchard in their corner. An old-ass Tully Blanchard, spry Tully Blanchard. We'll talk a little bit more about him in a little bit, because my, oh my, did we get something that's a little, just raises possibilities, raises a lot of them. This is a fun match because it tells a story about the dissension in the Dark Order. And basically, what we end up getting is, due to a miscommunication between 5 and Evil Uno, I'm sorry, not 5 and Evil Uno, Silver and Evil Uno. John Silver ends up taking the pin, causing the loss, and a lot of infighting. Like, it eventually, like, as FTR and Shawn Spears kind of like do the slinky heel thing, like, hey, we got you guys. Like they were all Dick Dastardly. While they're slinking their way up, Anna Jay and Ty Conti are looking on with basically like just shaking their heads at the disoriented and infighting of the Dark Order. So I think something has to come along to kind of push that into its next phase. And I would even argue that Anna Jay is one that ends up noticing how Bray Wyatt is no Brody Lee at first. As she was handpicked by Brody at one point with all of this. So, just something to think about. But anyway, we get a little video package after that about the Anna Jay, Ty Conti against the Bunny and Penelope Ford feud. Actually, this was something to cover the entire women's battle royal. And we get Jade Cargill was like, you can't trust anyone. Thunder Rosa was in there, says she won't stop fighting. Nyla Rose talked about how she's still being dominant. And then we get to one of my favorite backstage segments. And I'm not going to grade a video package, anything that's like pre-put together like that. But backstage, Tony Schiavone is talking with old-ass spry Tully Blanchard. And Tully Blanchard calls out Darby Allin and Sting. He says he wants Shawn Spears versus Darby Allin on next week's show. And then he said, there will be a time when he and Sting meet in the ring again. Oh, man. So, okay. Tully Blanchard, for 67 years old, looked really good in that that 6-man tag match he had with FTR earlier in the year. I was impressed. Sting looked really good in the couple of matches that he's had for 62 years old. There's a 5-year difference, I think, between the two of them. Maybe 6-year. This will be something to see because leave it to a horseman. I say that on purpose. Leave it to a horseman to want to pick a fight with Sting. Now, we have Double A there. Yes, he's with the Nightmare family. But once a horseman, always a horseman. We have Dean Malenko in AEW. Once a horseman, always a horseman. And for those who lived under a rock, Ric Flair is a free agent, 1. And 2, he was around the boys pretty much during All Out Weekend. Bought the Elite dinner. Took some interesting videos with him and Orange Cassidy and Marco Stunt. AEW has worked with J.J. Dillon. Same night that Tully Blanchard got back in the ring. I would not be surprised, and it's going to depend a lot on Nate, but I would not be surprised if we got a 4 Horsemen reunion. A proper one. Now, with, granted, a combination that really wasn't together, because Dean Malenko was kind of the odd one out. Because Arn was in more of a manager role then, and of course it was Flair, and I don't remember if Mongo was a part of it then, but Benoit was a part of it as well, and yeah, I'm just kind of spacing out on the rest of those there. But anyhow, Mongo might have still been in there, which I hope you get well, Mongo. I really do. I just never quite understood his inclusion with the Four Horsemen. Fell a little off to me. But God knows on his health issues, hope for healing, man. Hope for healing. But I can see the Four Horsemen coming back around to fuck with Sting in the combination of Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, and Dean Malenko. Now, I don't know if Dean Malenko is going to really get in the ring or anything or try to dick around, as he does have Parkinson's, which makes me kind of wonder if there's another horseman around who might want to be kind of involved. I could see Barry Windham doing it. I think Barry Windham would be the closest if you wanted to get somebody in there who's at least got some ring psychology to them, like really good ring psychology. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But Tully Blanchard teased those two colliding in the ring one more time. I cannot believe that I want to see Tully Blanchard and Sting in the year 2021. Blink, 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 blink. Anyhow, leads us to our next match. Or not to our next match. We get an announcement of Varsity Blondes and the Acclaimed next on Rampage on Friday. But the next segment, Tully Blanchard and Shivani, I give that an A-. Great to see Tully, get on the stick and do everything like that. I wish he wasn't as vague as he was, but I have a feeling we're going to get Darby and Sting against Tully and Shawn Spears at the Arthur Ashe Stadium show. I just think they're going to wait like a week or so to go ahead and announce that. But I'm going to give it an A-. And then that's when we get the Elite and Tony Schiavone. So the Elite come out. Don Callis takes the microphone, talks about Kenny Omega being the number one spot in the PWI 500. Callis even says how the tag titles were stolen from the Bucks on Sunday and they have a plan to get them back. And I gotta say here, Don Callis' spray tan is one of the ugliest fucking things I've ever seen. But God, that spray tan was on thick tonight. Nick Jackson grabs the microphone after that and says, speaking of getting things back, we got back one of our best friends, Adam Cole. Adam Cole gets his own entrance, and out he comes. Adam Cole gets in the ring with the Elite and walks right up to Tony Schiavone and says, as the most jealous boyfriend you've ever heard, he goes, I know you're close to Britt, but if you ever look at her weird, I'm going to whoop your ass. Like, first of all, the threat to Tony Schiavone should not stand. Now, I know, like, it's all scripted and everything like that, but Tony Schiavone's been through a lot lately. But Tony Schiavone's also been like, had dropped some of the best lines. Maybe he dropped the best line at All Out when he said, by God, I love pro wrestling. And then anyway, Cole and the rest of the Elite kick Schiavone out of the ring. Get out of the ring, nerd. Get out of the ring, nerd. Brr, brr, brr. Nerd alert. And basically Adam Cole is like, AEW is the best in the world. It's because of the Elite. He goes, I may be new here, but I've been Elite for 14 years. Says he's a once-in-a-generation talent. He says the Bucks are the greatest tag team of all time, and Omega is a once-in-a-lifetime wrestler. And he says now they're complete, basically. And he says he's going to make his in-ring debut on next week's Dynamite. So Omega takes the mic, and he says, if there's one thing he hates, it's being interrupted. And as soon as he starts talking about that, Bryan Danielson's music hits. And out comes the American Dragon, as it even stated on the little video entrance, Bryan Danielson. Again, I could not believe I was about to see Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson share a ring in the year 2021. Even if it's just for a segment to talk. Like, going into WrestleMania, like, we have to talk about this. Bryan Danielson now, that's going to take time for me. But anyway, Bryan Danielson was in the main event of WrestleMania this year. And now he is going to be potentially in the main event of some AEW related event against the AEW World Champion Kenny Omega. What world do we live in? Holy shit. This was something. Bryan Danielson's totally playing to the crowd. Like Omega's trying to pull his like little bully shtick and everything like that. And, Bryan Danielson goes, do you guys want to see Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson? And that crowd fucking erupted. Straight up erupted. And I have a feeling we're going to get that match as a non-title, maybe even potentially a world title eliminator match at the Arthur Ashe show. I can even see Daniel Bryan winning that match and then losing the title match shortly thereafter. That is one way to send the crowd home happy at Arthur Ashe, to progress a storyline after that. But at the same time, I think you got to have Adam Page come back at the same show. As a matter of fact, before I get into that. So anyway, before I get into what I would do with the Arthur Ashe show, let me go ahead and wrap this Dynamite up. So, Omega, Bryan Danielson says Omega isn't going to take the match because, like, you're scared. You're afraid that I'm better than you. And, of course, Kenny, takes his jacket off and, goes to swing at him. Bryan Danielson, blocks it, takes him down. I think he was going for the label lock. The Elite come in, jump him, then Jurassic Express and Christian Cage, they all run in there to help clear out the Elite. So does Frankie Kazarian. Luchasaurus tosses Marco Stunt onto the Young Bucks. Eventually, poor Brandon Cutler is the only one left in the ring. And, Bryan Danielson comes out and nails the running knee, which I got to tell you, Brandon Cutler, this version of Stooge Cutler, has been my favorite Brandon Cutler. By far and away. I have loved it. And so that we get a, quick rundown of what's coming up in the next week. But before I do that, oh yeah, that's right. We got the main event. My apologies. God, see, I'm all over the place. Like, it's been a Dynamite, man. So Friday's Rampage. Andrade versus Pac. Well, we were supposed to get it all out. I'm excited for that one. The Acclaim, Max Caster against Brian Pillman Jr. Darby and Sting are going to respond to Tully Blanchard. And then Ruby Soho, Riho, and Chris Statlander will go up against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel. And then on next week's Dynamite, we get Cole against Kazarian, Jade Cargill versus Layla Hirsch, and Darby Allin and Sting. Darby Allin with Sting goes one-on-one with Shawn Spears and Tully Blanchard in his corner. And of course, we have the announcement that Cody Rhodes is making his return to AEW at the Dynamite Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe Stadium, September 22nd, against Malachi Black in what should be a banger of a rematch. But anyway, we go to the main event, which is Minoru Suzuki and Jon Moxley. Hometown hero Jon Moxley. So, for the fact that it's 2021 and we're seeing this, like, my God, I could not believe it. Like, this, what started off as like haymakers almost ends up as haymakers, and there was a headbutt fest. Like, my head hurts just watching it. Like, honestly. But that's Minoru Suzuki. Like, I popped so hard when he showed up at All Out. And the guy's a free agent. And that's so crazy that he just doesn't have a contract anywhere. He just keeps those business relations open. But this was a really fun main event. Hits hard. Wasn't too much to think at. That's not always a bad thing. And they, just kept going and going and going. Suzuki got, his eye busted open, and that looked really good. The color for the blood looked like, you could tell it wasn't that bad of a cut. It was just the placement and the amount of blood that came out made it look worse than it actually was. But, Moxley with a paradigm shift that, let's be real, looked more like a butterfly suplex than anything else. Or a double underhook. More like a double underhook. But, and gets the 1, 2, 3 that way. And to close Dynamite, he goes and celebrates with the fans in the stands because Cincinnati, Ohio is his hometown. So, I give that match an A-. I personally really enjoyed it. I would love to see Suzuki wrestle in AEW again. I mean, if he's already here, like, milk it for what it's worth. Have him whoop some ass while he's around and take advantage of that. Overall, I'm going to give the show a B. I was about to say B+. I am going to say B+, because it was definitely above average, but it wasn't excellent. It was still damn good. It's better than Raw. It's better than SmackDown. Like, I'm getting fresh matchups. I'm getting all of that stuff that I'm not getting elsewhere. That's just that. So back to the Elite. I have a feeling that at the Arthur Ashe Stadium show, we're going to get Kenny Omega and Daniel Bryan one-on-one in a title eliminator tournament. I think Bryan Danielson is going to make him... He's either going to win with the kick or with the knee, or he's going to make Kenny tap. We haven't seen Kenny really tap in AEW. I think there's a world where that happens, and then we get the match on another Dynamite down the road. Potentially the Saturday night Dynamite that's coming up in October. I can see it happening there. I think in Miami is where it's supposed to be. But that doesn't change the fact that... I think we're getting set up for the return of Adam Page. And I think it's at the Arthur Ashe Stadium show where he returns. Potentially cost Kenny the match with Bryan Danielson to set up the world title match. And while Kenny does retain over Bryan Danielson, it eventually sets up the big match between them for Full Gear. And that is where Adam Page kicks out of the One-Winged Angel and beats Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. As I mentioned, I'm a Kenny Omega mark. Always have been. Do I want to see Kenny lose? Hell no. But do I also know it's best for business? Hell yeah. Because what I think ends up happening from there is Adam Cole uses that to kick out Kenny Omega from the Elite. Omega's on the shelf for a number of months, and God knows, just to rest up from the amazing run he had as champ. And then he comes back as a face. And then we get Omega Cole for a big feud. That's at least what I think is going to happen. I could be wrong, could be right. But I'm willing to bet I'm right. It's going to be a lot of fun to see. There's a lot of time between now and November 13th. But I'm here for it. It's a week after I get back from Las Vegas, which will be a lot of fun. So it's going to be interesting to see, because as the next few weeks unfold, I think we're going to get Punk doing some Dynamite matches, maybe even a Rampage match. I think we're going to get, given how the Arthur Ashe Stadium show is 2-ish weeks away, I think it's exactly 2 weeks away. I don't think Bryan Danielson wrestles until then. But I think we're going to start to see the cracks in the Elite sooner rather than later. And I think the return of Adam Cole helps solidify that. And Adam Cole really throws in a X factor that makes the next few months a little bit harder to predict. But that's why I love pro wrestling. That's why I love AEW. Before I sign off today, do want to give a big shout out and a get well to Triple H, who had a cardiac episode the other day and had heart surgery. They say it was something to do genetic. I don't know if it was a heart valve or something like that, but I hope Triple H recovers quickly. I bring it up with the impending changes coming to NXT next week. I can't help but wonder if stress helped bring that on from everything that we've heard. I don't say that as I wish it were, it happened. But, you don't fuck around with your heart in that regard. And I can't help but wonder if this is how Triple H retires for good. A lot of these athletes, whether it be in real sports or, the zany world that we all love in professional wrestling, how many of them retire in a doctor's office after being told, sorry, man, you're done? And for everything that Triple H has done, the reign of terror aside and things like that, he helped provide us with a brand for WWE that a lot of people were very passionate about, including myself, in what was NXT. Because I will say, even now, NXT is a shell of its former self. And I don't think that's anything against Shawn Michaels, Triple H, or William Regal, who kind of been running those things down there. But I can't help but wonder, is this the end of Triple H, the performer? At least how it is in the ring. Family first. You got to think about your family first. I imagine we'll hear more about it as the weeks go along. But if he is done, that is something that you look back on, because I think his last match was against Batista, and what was Batista's last match. And yeah, man, it's kind of crazy to think they both could be done with that one particular match. And Triple H has done a lot of good for sports entertainment. And I would even say professional wrestling. Because NXT for a while there was the professional wrestling that sports entertainment was based around. And I say was because I don't think it is anymore. But yeah, Triple H, get well, man. Get well. And on that note, as we look forward to the weeks ahead, as I've stated on here, I don't review Rampage or Dark Elevation or Dark. I just watch them and enjoy them. But I will be continuing to review AEW Dynamite and the pay-per-views and going at taking a look at things from there. However, also, I will continue to do my game streaming on here. I didn't really do much I didn't do any this last weekend. I had a million things going on, but I should be back on a normal schedule with that starting this weekend. And in the coming weeks, I'll have a retro night that I'm working on. Beyond that, I did record my live reaction to this, so I am going to be uploading this as a part of an upcoming podcast for Just My Take. And yeah, thank you for everybody who tuned in, even if it was for a brief moment. I appreciate you. If you do like the content, as always, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next Wednesday for more AEW.